a question for Michael. You mentioned obviously there was no kind of employer's information requirements on the project, and it was really an initiative within BAM, I suppose, to move the BIM forward and develop it and submit it as part of the tender. What impact or what change do you think the employer's information requirements would have made to you if you had those at the tender stage?
Good question. God only knows is the answer. It depends entirely on what they put in. Like in some ways, it suits BAM that there wasn't an EIR, that we were driving our own agenda, adding our own value. I think the big change would have been around our risk. Obviously, we wouldn't have had to have done a lot at tender stage. That's not the game at tender stage. It's more about your end delivery and the costs associated with that. So, I mean, even to this day, we still see an awful lot of tenders come out, even if they do have EIRs. The most important section is what information is to be either included or excluded expressly. That's the area of most impact. I've never ever seen one completed out. So you end up going into this phase of discovery with the client during construction. And as you can appreciate, when you've kind of costed a project, you're trying not to overburden yourself with too much work as well. And it's a bit unfair, but you're trying to add value to the client. So, I think Rob's presentation there has been the next example of what a really mature client should be doing, is actually setting out from the sort of what do we actually want. With our own FM team, we had to go through that in our PPPs where we asked them, what is it you actually want? And we literally had to lock them in a room for a number of days to really read it out of them. And it actually took walking around buildings and them to say, this works for me, that doesn't work for me, or quite often it's driven by the financial penalties on a project. So what might not seem important to me could be really important to them, because if it doesn't work, they're heavily financially penalised. So how long is a piece of string? It could have a huge impact, it could have no impact at all. We'd like to see more of them, because the big problem we have is we go onto projects and there's no information given up front, and then it starts appearing. That's when you start having challenges around your own financial model on the project as well, because you need to overload the people to make it happen. So we'd really like to see more of it, but unfortunately not enough to this point.
Thank you.
Can I ask a sort of what-if question for the team? If this had been done not as design and build and as a traditional procurement, would it have been as successful as BIM?
Who's that for?
Well, it's for Michael, but the rest of the team, if they want to follow on with it.
No, it wouldn't have been. Definitely not. The fact it was design and build meant, like, we had a real drive and a volition about us to really make this happen. So again, early on with our design team, we were able to engage them well, make sure the money was right with themselves, into what they were getting themselves into, and we kind of went forward from that point. So there was the proper form of contract to make this happen, in my opinion, particularly given where everybody was at that moment in time. I think on a traditional form of contract, everybody's got to be quite mature about it, because the minute somebody uses the phrase level 2 in a traditional form of contract, I don't think they realise what they're opening themselves up for, because there's an expectation on our part that things are going to be done in a particular way as well. That's massively misunderstood right now. We're still getting half-baked designs coming to us on a traditional form of contract, which is using phrase like level 2. And as Rob correctly says, it's all about QA/QC. It's all about validating information at a particular stage and making sure it's done. So I think that's the one area of greatest contention, in my opinion, right now, contractually, is traditional form of contracts and references to level 2 BIM delivery. People need to be very, very careful with that. I think, Michael, it would have been very, very challenging had that been the form of contract. That particularly, given that was a couple of years ago as well.
Yeah, no, I'd like to reiterate what Michael said there, that no, I don't think it would have been as successful if it had been a traditional contract. Primarily for the reason that we would not have been able to identify the requirements we needed, specifically the IR, and sort of maybe engaged actively in the process of delivering it. That's not to say do ourselves a disjustice in saying that we wouldn't have been able to, with a valid Contractor Act, asking the right questions. But in terms of what we got, far exceeded what we were expecting. I mean, essentially we were looking for an asset information model at the handover, which we could actually use for educational purposes and for operational purposes. And that is something that we have got, but unfortunately we've been unable to use it. And that's down to sort of the ability of BDP and BAM to deliver something far in excess of what we were looking for.
Angus O'Keefe from Ronan and Development Consulting Engineers. We've been involved in a research project, a Europe-wide research project over the last 6 months, engaging with roads authorities on exactly this question of how to get the right asset information at the end of a project when you have to write the requirements 3 years in advance of handover, and during that time where the needs of the asset manager will change, the technology will change, and even to have asked your asset manager and got the right answer at the outset when you're writing the requirements is almost impossible. So something which we've found through our research that some of the mainland European public bodies are doing is that they're asking contractors to price for engaging with asset managers throughout the design and construction stage to create a data dictionary for each asset type, where maybe a client at the outset has a sample set of data dictionaries for each object type or each asset type, and that is then between the contractor and the client's asset managers to populate the remainder required, because, as I say, contracts occur over such an extended duration. So is that something you've considered?
Just when we're engaging with the end users, we try not to use BIM. I think that's more of a barrier to what they're doing, mostly because they think it's a 3D model. They don't understand that's a business information management system. That's what we're trying to look at. So when we go, we ask, what's your business needs? What's your business needs? Start at that. Don't be asking about OIRs, EIRs, any of this kind of thing. What you do, how do you do it, what information you need to do it. And then you can look at, when you know what the information is, then you can look at how you're going to structure that information. So I suppose what you need to start asking the questions is, what are they doing and how are they doing it, and get that kind of answer.
But that's fundamentally my point, that the asset managers that we've spoken to around Europe will tell you that there really are only 5 or 6 pieces of information that we need to do our job, and that needs to be semantically rich, searchable information. And everything else, the fancy Navisworks models, the PDF drawings, if we can get through a searchable system to find that if we ever need it, great. But we really only need 5 or 6 pieces of information for every asset type, and that's just to do our job, which is coming back to your question about the business. Whether that's in a BIM format or a GIS format or something that's at least internationally standardized, then that's what we need.
Just like, I think that's a really practical and pragmatic approach, and we need a bit more of that in this industry, to be honest, as well. You know, that's a sensible solution to a difficult thing. Because yeah, you are right, things will change. But if it was priced in, there'd be no problem. You know what I mean? That's the way it works. So I think that's a very sensible thing. Yeah.
So, question to David O'Connor. You mentioned the CIC working group, you are focusing on defining the LOD requirements. Is there a focus on the level of information requirements as well?
The first stage that we're trying to focus on is a set of common work stages, so that everybody is working at least at the same stages and the same outputs. I think where you dial forward and dial back is the level of information you would expect. So the example I put up was, say, that the structure, the very initial stages, we're an architectural firm, we tend to model the structure, and as soon as you go into stage 2, the structural engineer kind of takes ownership of the structure. So, but at a very early stage, in a very basic level, I don't think we should be attempting to define the level of detailed definitions. There's a lot of work being done on that. In fact, the document produced in December in the States, which goes into a very large amount of detail of each individual element, and they're using level of details from 100 to 500, they go 100 to 400, they go 1, 2, 3, 350, 400, 500. It's really how that can then be adopted. What is the advice that the institutes will give to their members to say, if you're starting out on a project, it's reasonable to assume the level of detail of 2 or 200 at this stage, it's reasonable to assume, and then each individual team can then dial it up or dial it down depending on what's the requirement. And that comes back to procurement. If you're going to procure earlier or late, then that will shift what level of detail you dial to. So if you look at the Reba work stages, that screenshot that I showed you, there's a downloadable version of that, which is part of the NPS toolkit, and the idea is you populate it with information that's relevant to your project and the level of detail that's relevant to your procurement process and your construction process. So it's really just to advise the CFO, ultimately the institutes, to say, when you approach something like this, here's the tools, here's an example of how it can be done, here's how we think you should do it, and then you need to customize it. It's back to making it relevant for the job. If it's a building or a road, the information requirements at the end are completely different. And the big gap we're all seeing it is at the very end, what is it you want? Well, not enough projects have actually been through the whole process to say, well, we got that, we don't need all that, but we got it, we want enough. So every couple of years we can come back here and say, right, we now need to change the advice we're giving people. Can we change the amount of information we